Okay, welcome to Oath of the Gatewatch draft number 2. Before we make a pick here, a little bit of post-mortem on draft number 1. We got crushed pretty hard. Really didn't get to play game 2 and lost game 1 convincingly. Going back over the draft though, I'm still pretty happy with the direction we took. Listening to some commentary since that draft that's come out, I feel like that's definitely a solid direction, and a lot of those valuations were pretty close. So I might head back in that direction again. I see an Oblivion Strike compared to maybe Prophet of Desolation or Havoc Sower as uncommons, because I think Oblivion Strike is hands down the best common. Prophet of Distortion, pretty cool, interesting card. But I think it's pretty easy to just grab the Oblivion Strike here. Saddleback Lagak, Seer's Lantern, also interesting pickups. So looking, I know black-white is a solid direction. Black-red aggro and less so black-green, and then black-blue is also a direction we could go. So let's see, we're looking at Grip of the Royal, Crumbling Vestige, Expedition Raptor, Mob Kozilek, Stalking Drone, Umara Entangler, Unnatural Endurance are the choices. None of them are very exciting. Really nothing that jumps out. I think Unnatural Endurance is quite playable. And it fits on color, so that leaves us open. It's kind of an unexciting second pick. But maybe the upside is just that we get another card for our deck, and we get to... I'm not really excited about taking up to Expedition Raptor, which might be the most powerful choice. So I'll just kind of stay open and see if we can find a direction that we're interested in after this. I'm gonna go ahead and grab Hedron Crawler. I think the alternative would be Tar Snare. So I think again we might be heading in a direction of colorless. We don't really have to do that. There's other directions we could go. Black green with the Birthing Hulk I think is strong. But Hedron Crawler gives us that acceleration, and then Tar Snare to stay on color with the removal spell. But I think there actually is quite a bit of removal, especially if we're going to go black-blue, and Hedron Crawler fixes and accelerates. So I'm a little more interested in that. Now I'm looking at Containment Membrane, Goblin Freerunner, Seer's Lantern. I was not very impressed with Containment Membrane in the last draft. I felt like having to take that damage before using it really slowed us down and put us on the back foot. Goblin Freerunner, I think it goes perfectly well with what we have so far. Obviously, Hedron Crawler, and then Seer's Lantern for more of a control deck. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Seer's Lantern and just try to stay open. So I think we have a choice between two black cards here. We've got Essence Depleter, 2/3, drain the opponent for 1. And then we've got Kozilek's Translator, the 3/5, to add a mana. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Depleter. I already have 2 sources of colorless. And that gives us some sort of late game finishing power. Nothing in colors that I'm interested in. Well, there's Immobilized Eldrazi, a little bit of a more aggressive card with the colorless activation. Creature with toughness greater than power can't block this turn. And then there's Kozilek's Pathfinder. I already have 2 ways to ramp up to 6. So I think maybe this is the way to go, and it lets us go into any color pack too. Kozilek Shrieker, I think, is a nice pickup here. I think this is a solid card. Colorless activation. We could go Tajiro Path Warden or Sweep Away, but I'm pretty happy to stay in black. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. And now we are mono colorless so far. So Sky Scourer actually looks pretty strong. And then there's also Gravity Negator, a flyer at 4. Unnatural End being quite a bit better if we're being aggressive. Kozilek Shrieker is quite aggressive. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Sky Scourer. I think Gravity Negator is probably better, but I'm a little bit interested in seeing if we can make a sort of really aggressive black, colorless deck work. So along those lines, I'm going to grab this Eldrazi Aggressor and see if we can go black-red, maybe sort of mono-gray aggressive. And then I'm not really going to play Untamed Hunger under any circumstances. Chitinous Cloak, doesn't really do much for me. So maybe Umara Entangler in case the direction I want to go is blue-black. Okay, pretty happy so far. Oblivion Strike, Hedron Crawler, Seer's Lantern, Kozilek Shrieker, Essence Depleter, all pretty strong. So I feel good about, the Unnatural End was kind of a pick where I'm saying, I could go in I could pick a slightly stronger card, like the 2/2 support flyer, but I think the chance that I end up black-white at that point is, no more than 30%. And Unnatural End, I think I'll usually play one. I think, for one black, getting that guaranteed regeneration, getting a couple extra power if you need it, so you can trade up. I think that, definitely makes it worthwhile. So I'm definitely happy to run one and happy to have the flexibility. I'm going to grab another Sky Scourer. There's no way I'm playing Remorseless Punishment. Sparkmake's Gambit seems fine, but we're going to try and really beat down here. And then there's Pyromancer's Assault to sort of add a surge element to the deck. I think Umara Entangler is more likely to go in, and then we can play Slip Through Space, draw a card, and get the unblockable, trigger our Sky Scourer, and then this Abstruse Interference and Mountain. So at this point, we can happily go black-blue or black-red. Grasp of Darkness is going to be the pick. We don't need Needle Spires as the rare. Next strongest cards. Really, there's not much. This looks like a pretty weak pack. Cinder Hellion is fine. Alpha Protector is an okay defender. So Grasp of Darkness, just far and away the best card in the pack and right in our colors. Sifter of Skulls. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a Scion onto the battlefield. 4/3 for 4. That just seems like the obvious pick. Let's go through our alternatives. Our alternatives are Gravity Negator in blue, Slaughter Drone, 2/2 for 2 in black. And that's about it. Cinder Hellion in red. So pretty happy to pick up Sifter of Skulls. Shoulder to shoulder and lead by example for the support strategy. Yeah, great pick. Mindmelter, fantastic. We are going to now have to keep in mind, I think we're going to have to prioritize some more colorless. We need more than just the Hedron Crawler and Seer's Lantern. But for now, we are going to pick up the Mindmelter, and then with remaining picks, we're going to prioritize colorless lands. Unfortunately, nothing for us here. I think we can grab maybe another Unnatural Endurance. We're up to 11 creatures, or a Vampire Envoy. I think maybe grabbing the Envoy is just going to give us more flexibility than the 1-mana spell. There's a foil Mindmelter. I actually might take a colorless land over it, but there isn't one in the pack. So we'll go ahead and grab this Mindmelter. 2 to unblockable for 3 with this card advantage ability, and we'll grab this Wastes here. And fortunately, there's nothing that we would really consider taking over it. So happy to pick up a Wastes. Baloth Null is pretty interesting. Gonna grab Kozilek Shrieker over Kozilek's Pathfinder. I think something we noticed last time was that the creature-based colorless ended up being somewhat unreliable. The Hedron Crawler got removed early in game one. If it hadn't, I think we would have had a strong position to maybe try to win that game. So I think we have to prioritize lands that produce colorless mana. Again, colorless like Shrieker are somewhat dependent on colorless to be effective, so we really have to keep that in mind. So Containment Membrane or Comparative Analysis, are our choices. Neither of those are particularly exciting with what we're doing. We'll grab the Membrane since it is removal. I think I'm somewhat happy with our direction here. We have 20 spells that are all, essentially playable. Well, let's see, not Abstruse Interference. So 19 spells that are essentially playable, which is why we started prioritizing colorless so quickly. Unfortunately, it didn't turn up for us. So we'll have to keep an eye out in pack 3. Something I missed entirely, just completely ignored, was the fact that Blighted Step was really just a waste and absolutely needed to go in the deck. I'm going to grab Bonesaw, actually. Triggers Umara Entangler and Sky Scourer. So, that's a little bit interesting. I will hope to not play it, but you never know. And Slip Through Space, that's more interesting along those same directions. And then we'll grab Comparative Analysis, because we're not moving into red at this point with our 2 Mindmelters. Although really, it's just the Mindmelters. Maybe I should have taken the flyer on the possible red card in case there's something that showed up in pack 3. Feeling pretty good about this. I think we are pretty aggressive. We've got Entanglers, Sky Scourers, Kozilek Shrieker. Essence Depleter is best in an aggressive deck, since that drain life ability is best when they're low in life. Mindmelter is aggressive. Vampire Envoy, assists with our tempo plan. We're not going to play Gift of Tusks. We're really not going to play Comparative Analysis either. And then Sifter of Skulls works great with our sort of creature-heavy deck. And then it does itself have a high power for its casting cost. Okay, so far our colorless sources I think are the main, the sort of main deficiency of our deck. We're looking at Wastes, Hedron Crawler, and Seer's Lantern, 3 sources. We're going to need to pick up 2 and since we have the Waste Evolving Wild counts as a colorless source, we're going to need to pick up a couple sources in pack 3. We're looking for actually blighted lands, especially the blue and black ones. Would actually be, I would first pick a Blighted Cataract or Blighted, whatever the other one is at this point. Dominator Drone looks like our pick. There's essentially no alternative, and it fits perfectly into what we're trying to do, so we will snap that up. Obviously not a super powerful card. R3's a little thick, but okay. Skyspawner is great. Actually, does produce colorless if we really need it. It's aggressive. Yep, fantastic grab for what we're trying to do. Dampening Pulse fits less so into the deck we're building. We're already up to 23 cards that we would be reasonably happy to play. Actually, I think completely happy to play. I might be looking at getting rid of Bonesaw, Containment Membrane. It'll be interesting to see if Sky Scourer. I think we can effectively trigger it every turn. So it's essentially a 2/2 flyer for 2 on offense, of course. So we have to be guaranteed that we're the beatdown every game. Wow. So Ruination guy is fantastic. Fantastic. Another 3-drop, but what are you gonna do? So maybe actually Unnatural End would have been better here as an extra 1, but I think Envoy was a totally defensible pick there. Envoy is actually our 2 Umara Entanglers. All right, let's hope for a Blighted Land. I would take any color Blighted Land at this point. We really need to turn on our Kozilek Shriekers. We need to turn on our Mindmelters. We need to turn on our Kozilek's Pathfinder. Actually, there's not as much as I thought. Oh, and our Essence Depleter. So we have these 5 cards. So nothing again. I think Sludge Crawler here, get a little more aggressive rather than the Incubator Drone. Halimar Tidecaller. I have no cards with Awaken. I have no land creatures, so currently it's just a 2/3. Go ahead and grab the Sludge Crawler. Incubator Drone would produce 1 additional colorless mana, but I'd rather go on the low end of the curve. Again, no colorless. A little unfortunate. I could go with Anticipate or Spell Shrivel. I'll actually go with Spell Shrivel, I think. Only have a couple more chances to grab a colorless land, so we might be regretting some early picks where we prioritize a spell. Pretty much any spell in my deck at this point, I would be willing to trade for a colorless land. So we might want to go back over the draft and see where we prioritized a spell over a colorless land. Anticipate I could use to make sure I hit one of my colorless sources, and it does trigger the Umara Entangler in a more aggressive fashion. I think I will take Anticipate, actually. And then there's a Blighted Gorge. I'm actually happy to run Blighted Gorge, even though I have, no 0 chance of triggering it. I think that's totally fine. Really the only card in our colors is Mist Intruder. Is there any chance we will play Mist Intruder? There's no, there's only one pick we haven't seen yet. Obviously it would have been correct to try to anticipate what use we could make of Ingest. We do have a few other ways to exile. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. I think we get... No, we don't see any new cards, but it's possible that there's something I missed. Mire's Malice or Tightening Coils. Tightening Coils, a little more defensive card. Mire's Malice is a great card to follow up with. I don't actually have much top end, not that I anticipate needing it, but that also makes Tightening Coils less exciting. It's less exciting to play that on an early creature and let them get the chump block in. I think I'm actually going to grab the Mire's Malice. Maybe try to apply some pressure and then tank their hand. We'll see how it goes. I actually haven't played much with Mire's Malice, despite it being a prominent card in Battle for Zendikar, just because of the number of drafts I did and the direction I went with those drafts. I'll grab the Invoker, which would obviously just hose my, hose down my deck. Really nothing here that I'm concerned about. I don't even mind my opponent playing Reckless Cohort. Let's grab a Dutiful Return on color and grab another Anticipate. It's really unbelievable. This card is one of the best cards in the set. But if there were no, Awakened cards, so what are you gonna do? Grab the Skyline Cascade, grab the Lithomancer's Focus, and we're somewhat in business. The nice thing is we don't require colorless to cast any spells, so we can play our creatures out. Kozilek, Shrieker, and Mindmelter and Depleter are all perfectly fine without colorless mana. Really, there's all of our cards are fine and playable without colorless. So the fact that we only have 4 sources, it doesn't end up hurting us that much. We're not going to need that Bone Saw for sure. We're not going to need Mist Intruder. I think we're not going to need Containment Membrane. That's obviously a card that we will consider bringing in. We're not going to need Tidecaller. Not going to need Dutiful Return. Let's put these lands out of the way. We're definitely going to be playing 23 spells, so we need to find 3 cuts. I'm not interested in cutting Pathfinder since we have 2 ways to ramp into it. I can maybe cut an Anticipate because I really do just want to be hitting. So I think I could cut the 2 Entanglers. 2-1 Prowess is okay, but I think I have enough other ways to get aggressive that I'm going to prefer my colorless spells. Although, Slip Through Space does interact really well with the Entangler. Maybe enough so that it's worth actually, taking out some higher. But what am I going to take out, really? I'm going to get to 6, so there's no reason not to have something to play there. My Ruination Guide, my Skyspawner, Dominator Drone, Essence Depleter, Shrieker, Vampire Envoy maybe doesn't fit into the plan quite as cleanly. Maybe Mire's Malice. But I actually like having that at 4 and 6. Even at 4, I think if I follow up, 2 and 3 with a Mire's Malice, I'm really putting on the pressure. So maybe Unnatural Endurance is the cut, despite it being our second pick. I'd rather have a Slip Through Space, or maybe one of each, to give that extra bit of flexibility. So the cards are Anticipate, Slip Through Space, Unnatural Endurance. Maybe I just don't need Anticipate. Maybe trying to be aggressive, I want to play a creature on turn 2. One of my 5 creatures. I have 16 creatures that should make Slip Through Space, and Unnatural Endurance have reliable targets. I think this looks pretty interesting. I think there's different ways we could have built. Let's get out the cards that could very well belong in the deck. I think it's sort of these 6. So we're going to be looking at 6 cards. Let's make sure we consider all of them in our sideboarding. And then we're going to bring in Waste and Blighted Gorge. And then Dutiful Return if there's going to be a real grind. I don't think Skyline Cascade has any place in our deck. If we're on 2 or 3 lands and we want to play a 3-drop, that's way more important than potentially tapping down on a creature on the other side. Ancient Crab, you never know. If our opponent is hyper aggressive, we do actually have some ways to win the game in the long run. Okay. Early on, we're going to want to land both Entanglers and Sky Scourers, so I think we want a somewhat balanced mana base. Grasp of Darkness can wait, although, there's definitely a slight preference to blacks. I think 7-8 is going to be the way to go, so here's the deck. Pretty excited to see how this turns out. Looks like a fun build, some fun stuff to do with our mana. Yeah, all right, thanks a lot.